Greetings, YouTube. It's Mr. Scott, your favorite middle-aged metalhead, here today with a very special video for you all, doing a top 10 video. I've not done one of these in a very long time, but I've been wanting to do one, and I figured because of the time of year it is, spook season, Halloween season, my favorite time of the year, I want to do something very appropriate, and that's why I'm presenting to you 10 of my favorite horror-themed heavy metal songs. I do want to point out this is not a ranking video, so I'm not going to be going my least favorite to my most favorite, although my most favorite of all time is on this list, and I'll recognize it when we get to it. So I thought this would be a fun subject to delve into for this time of year, and I think it would be a fun thread that maybe we can get going on YouTube as well. So I like to invite my friends out there on YouTube who are content creators that are horror fans and metal fans to maybe give us their take on this list. I'm looking at you, Reanimate Her, Thrash Me Neck 99, Horror Master, Lament Butterfly, all of you great people out there. I'd love to see your list, and spread the word to your friends too who are also YouTube content creators that are horror fans and metal fans. I think it'd be a lot of fun to get into for this year. And if you are stopping by my channel for the first time clicking on this video, welcome and thank you very much for coming on by here. I hope you stick around and check out more of my content. There's plenty of reaction videos and all kinds of fun stuff to keep you entertained on here for quite a while. And if you like what you see, please consider hitting that subscribe button down there. Also hit that notification bell and check out all the information about me down in the description of this video. So, my friends, let's get to the 10. The first song on our list comes to us from the band Motorhead, and it's called Hellraiser. Released off their 1992 album called March or Die, probably one of the most underrated albums in the entire discography of the band. Hellraiser is a definite big standout track. It was also on the soundtrack to the movie Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. Can't say I'm a fan of that movie. I like the original Hellraiser, and I do like the second one too, but that's where it kind of ends for me with this franchise. The song was written by Lemmy of Motorhead and his longtime friend and collaborator, Ozzy Osbourne, along with Ozzy's guitar player at the time, Zakk Wylde. Ozzy actually recorded his own version and released it on the album No More Tears. I like that version, but I definitely prefer the Motorhead version. It's just heavier and more pounding in my opinion. There's a music video for the Motorhead version, which does feature Doug Bradley portraying the Cenobite Hell Priest, Pinhead. There's also a new animated video that came out recently where they took the Motorhead version and the Ozzy version, mashed them together in this commemorative video to celebrate the song's 30-year anniversary. The next song on our list, we're going to tap into the king of shock rock himself, Alice Cooper, with his song, He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask. Released off 1986 album Constrictor, it was also released on the soundtrack to the movie Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. This is my favorite Friday the 13th movie in the entire franchise, bar none. It's got everything you could love as a fan, in my opinion. It's got zombie Deadeye Jason, it's got a hot blonde, a cool car, it's the end of the Tommy trilogy, and it's got some awesome kills. The song is not necessarily heavy, but it's very foreboding in the way it's presented, specifically by Alice Cooper's vocal delivery. He kind of speaks, sings, and croons the verses, but once the chorus kicks in, it's so hooky you can't help but sing along to it. It's a lot of fun, and there's a music video for the song which does feature clips from the movie. The next song on our list, and by the way, the first 4 songs in this list are all songs that are off horror movie soundtracks, and this one comes to us from the band Laz Rocket, and it's called Leatherface. Released off the soundtrack to the movie Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in 1989. Laz Rocket, a West Coast thrash metal band, much in the same genre as a band like Exodus, or even an East Coast thrash metal band like Overkill. A lot of cool guitar tones and a singer who sings in a high vocal fry delivery. It's got this awesome rallying style chorus to it that you can't help but chant along to. It really gets you going. As far as the movie's concerned, I've gone into great detail about my love-hate relationship with the entire TCM franchise on my channel several times. I mean, I love the original. It's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. As far as the third movie's concerned, it's okay in my opinion. It's kind of its own universe. I don't envy Jeff Burr, who was strapped with directing that film after everyone literally turned it down who it was offered to, because once the MPAA and the studio finished slicing and dicing and gutting that script, there really wasn't much left for him to work with. So he did the best he could, but the song definitely kicks ass. The 4th song on our list, the last one featured on a horror movie soundtrack, arguably could be the best one of them all because it's Dokken with Dream Warriors. Released off their 1987 album called Back for the Attack, it is more famously a part of the soundtrack to the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. This is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie throughout the entire franchise. I think this is Robert Englund portraying the Freddy Krueger character at his absolute peak, before Freddy Krueger kind of became the slasher equivalent to Arnold Schwarzenegger, where he would just say like a funny line or a cool pun and then kill somebody, kind of like what Arnold was doing in a lot of action movies, in my opinion. But this is his peak as far as I'm concerned. The other characters in the movie stand out, which make their deaths even more memorable, and it's got some of the most infamous cool catchphrases in all slasher movies, like "What a Rush" and who can forget the immortal "What's the price?" The song is known for its awesome guitar work from George Lynch and high falsetto vocals of Don Dokken. There's a music video for this song, which does feature Patricia Arquette and Robert Englund portraying the characters they did in the movie in the music video, and they actually interact with the band. It's kind of one of the best sing-along choruses I can think of when it comes to a horror-themed metal song. For the fifth song on the list, we're going to delve into the brutality that is death metal with Mortician and their song Hacked Up for Barbecue. Mortician released this song off their debut album in 1997 of the same name, Hacked Up for Barbecue. The title of the song is taken from the opening scroll of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, and the entire song is influenced by those movies. The band actually started out of Yonkers, New York, and basically it was two musicians and a drum machine, and they would set this drum machine to do blast beats at ungodly speeds. I don't know if any human could actually replicate them properly, so I definitely recommend you check out the song, but when you do, make sure you got the liner notes in front of you, because trust me, you're not going to understand a word they say, and because it's death metal, we wouldn't have it any other way. For the number 6 song on our list, we're going to tap into those boys from New Jersey, the Misfits, with their version of the track Monster Mash. Released from what I found out in 1997 as part of an animated movie short, it was later released as a single in 1999. The band would re-record the song as part of their Project 1950 album, which came out in 2003. That's where they took a collection of classic rock and roll songs and gave it the Misfits treatment, and Monster Mash fits in there perfectly, just like a glove. Now, I know the Misfits are not a metal band per se, but for me, when I think of horror, when I think of Halloween, when I think of fast music, the Misfits is definitely one of the first bands I think of, and I thought it was appropriate to include them on this list, so that's why I am. The song was originally recorded by Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers back in 1962. The next song on our list, we're going to tap in those bad boys from Brooklyn, New York, Typo Negative, with their song Halloween in Heaven. Released off their 2007 album called Dead Again. This will be the last studio album from the band. Typo Negative, primarily known to be a part of the doom metal genre, which is known to have long, drawn-out chord progressions, very slow in its delivery, and lyrics that have a lot of melancholy and yearning in them. That is not the case with this song at all. It goes back to the band's hardcore punk roots with a band like Carnivore. It's very fast. The lyrics are kind of shouted and yelled out and chanted along, so it's a lot of fun to listen to. It was really a catharsis for Peter Steele, the band's vocalist and bass player, because he wrote the lyrics for the song in tribute to his friend Dimebag Darrell Abbott of Pantera fame, who unfortunately was murdered on stage in 2004. The lyrics tell an absolutely beautiful story about all of these rock stars hanging out in the afterlife, having this awesome party. And so it's great for Peter Steele to kind of imagine his friend in that environment. Unfortunately, Peter Steele would pass away in 2010 of heart failure, and the song has taken on a whole new meaning now, as it's not just a tribute to the man it was written about, it's now also a tribute to the man who wrote it. For the number 8 song on our list, we're going to fly across the pond to the country of Germany with the band Helloween and their song Halloween. Released off their 1987 album called Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1. Many in the metal world consider this to be a foundation of power metal. It incorporates so many aspects of that genre that have become famous. Amazing guitar work, operatic style vocals, and there's plenty of it on this album to go around. They were so young too when they recorded this album. The lead singer at the time was only a teenager when they recorded the album. He was 17 or 18 years old, and so many have gone on to emulate his vocal stylings. Make sure you check out the album version of the song too, because it's a marathon of listening to. It clocks in at just over 13 minutes long. There's a music video for this song, but it's a much more truncated version of it. It's kind of full of 80s schlock and cheese, in my opinion, where the band's playing the song and all kinds of weird stuff is happening around them in a forest, but it's fun nonetheless. But definitely make sure you'll seek out the album version, because it tells a much more sinister story. For the number 9 song on our list, and 9 is the appropriate spot for this song because we're going to tap into the emperor of horror metal, the Prince of Denmark himself, King Diamond, and his song Halloween. Released off the 1986 album called Fatal Portrait. This will be the first album under the King Diamond moniker. Previous to that, King was the lead singer of a Danish heavy metal band called Merciful Fate. After 2 successful studio albums, King announced in 1985 that he was leaving the band because of creative differences, and the band promptly broke up from that decision. He took one of his guitar players, Michael Denner, and his bass player, Timmy Hansen, rest in peace, teamed him up in the studio with a badass on guitar from Sweden named Andy LaRock, and another badass from Sweden on drums named Mickey D, and formulated this super group of musicians to present the Fatal Portrait album. King would go on to become synonymous with doing horror-themed concept albums where the entire album was a story and each song was a chapter in the story. That's not the case though with this album here, The Fatal Portrait. There's a short story on it where only a handful of the songs are connected by a common thread. But the Halloween track definitely stands out as one of the best ones on the album. So many fans love this track. The band loves playing it live to this very day, and for me personally, this is my favorite horror-themed metal song. And rounding out this list at the number 10 position, I feel I must go back to where I believe it all starts from. And that is with arguably the first heavy metal band, and that would be Black Sabbath and their song Black Sabbath, released in 1970 on their album Black Sabbath. It's an ongoing debate. Who is the first heavy metal band? Many people in the world, like myself, will say it is definitively Black Sabbath. But there's plenty of people out there that debate that. They want to say, no, it goes back even further to bands like Deep Purple, or Cream, or Queen, or Jimi Hendrix, or even going to a band like the Yardbirds or the Kinks. It'll never be settled, it'll never be finalized, and that's fine with me because it gives us diehard metal fans something to discuss and debate and have a good time talking about it. But for me, this is the starting point for so much. The song begins with rain and thunder and instantly creates this mood of the doom and gloom and dread. And the song focuses on a concept in music called the tritone, which is a diminished fifth interval in the scale. From what I understand, centuries ago, you were not allowed to use this interval in music because supposedly it invoked the devil, hence why it was referred to as the devil's third. The guitar player for the band, Tony Iommi, had suffered a horrible accident at a sheet metal plant. He lost a couple of fingertips and had to replace them with like plastic bottle caps or something like that. And because of that, he couldn't play the fretboard on the guitar in the normal tuning. He had to tune them down to make it easier to play. That adds another layer of evil to this song. The lyrics were written by the band's bass player, Geezer Butler. It describes a story supposedly where Geezer was living in this one home and he painted all the walls in this one room completely black. He hung upside down crosses and pentagrams everywhere, fell asleep in the room, woke up, and supposedly saw this image in black staring back at him from the foot of his bed. He grabbed a piece of paper and a pencil, wrote down what he saw, and that became the lyrics to this song. So that is why, for me, I couldn't do a top 10 without acknowledging this one because it's the beginning of horror metal. You could say it's the beginning of doom metal, and definitely it is the creation of heavy metal. So there you have my 10 favorite horror-themed heavy metal songs. What are some of your favorites? Let me know in the comments down there. What did you think of my list? Do you have any other thoughts about any of these songs? Let me know about those thoughts too. If you enjoyed this, I please ask you hit that like button down there. Share this video on social media. That'd be very cool. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell as well. One more time, don't forget to check out all the information about me down in the description of this video. Links to my social networks are down there. Links to the podcasts I do. My TeePublic merchandise store is down there. And my Twitch account where I go live every single week. I jam out on there and have a lot of fun. I go live here on YouTube as well, so if you ever get a chance to see me, stop on in and say hi. Thank you all very much for stopping by, my friends. I wish you a very happy, healthy, haunted Halloween season, and while you listen to these songs or anyone's just like it, make sure you keep those horns high.